August 28th, Miguel Iturrate here at the IBOP Vaults. We are bringing you UFC video blog number 12. The subject today is Scott Coker, Bellator, and the reported signing of Stephan Bonnar. Where do I start? We'll start with Scott Coker. He's been around for a long time, and he's been around MMA at a high level with Strikeforce. He did preside over the end of Strikeforce, and he was a UFC exec where they paid him to do nothing visible, really, if he did anything at all for them. But he's been around, and you kind of wonder how he got the gig with Bellator. Bjorn Rebney stepped down, and he might be a name that comes up on a short list of people who could do that. But he comes back, and he really didn't have a style that anyone could pinpoint, and you're kind of waiting for him to put his signature on Bellator, and some of the things that we're seeing are not good. Stephan Bonnar is 37 years old, and he's a UFC discard. We'll get more into that later. Earlier this week, Coker announced that he released 12 fighters, including former light heavyweight champion, light heavyweight competitor Atilla Vegh, who had only lost once under the Bellator flag. You cut a 29-year-old fighter who'd only lost once and held your belt to bring in Stephan Bonnar. This is a bad sign for the Scott Coker era and Bellator. Which brings us to Stephan Bonnar. I really didn't want to see this guy again. I like Stephan Bonnar. Here's a guy who was a historic figure. He fought the battle with Forrest Griffin that really got the UFC and the whole tough reality show going. And he deserves this place, But he was towards the end of his career. He did reel off 3 wins in a row, but he'd been trailing off. He fought once in a year, basically, there towards the end. He was basically a forgotten man, and he gets the Anderson Silva fight. And this is why I don't like him coming back. He was forgotten, comes back for Anderson Silva, and the Stephan Bonnar that we got on that fight was a completely different Stephan Bonnar than we knew. He came back. He knew he was going to lose to Anderson Silva. It was, the joke of the MMA community, but he knew it. And what did he do? He basically roided up, looked good, came out, posed down, showed off his muscles, got his butt kicked, went home, took his money. Now, the way the UFC contracts work is that was the last fight on his contract, and then from there becomes open a period of time where the UFC can match any offer. Now, the Silva fight, if you look back at it now, was October 2012. So, whatever time period the UFC puts at the end of the contract, even up to 2 years now, is getting close to the end for Bonnar, and they have no rights to him, so Stephan Bonnar can go ahead and sign with Bellator. If he comes back to, let's make muscles and not take things seriously and pro wrestling which with an opponent like Tito Ortiz in the works, I think that's what we're going to get out of Stephan Bonnar, which is why we don't want to see it. But that's the case. Which brings us to the last point, which is Forrest Griffin, who's also going to be in this same boat. And if you're talking about potential people who could also be coming back to MMA, or Scott Coker who could look at, and you can look at Forrest Griffin too. He's also not fought in a while, a historic figure, and those rights that the UFC has to some of these guys are going to begin to run out. Forrest has the added thing where him and Dana really at the end weren't clicking, not that Forrest is a bad guy, not that Dana was a bad guy in there, but you could just see they were no longer on the same page. And Forrest, at his essence, is a little bit of an anti-establishment guy. I could see him going to Bellator and feeling a little bit refreshed. So this Stephan Bonnar signing is just a blast from the past. I'm not sure I like it. We'll see how it plays out.